everyone that says it, but Gettysburg has a vibe to it, an energy. I mean, you think back to the battle, 150,000 men from two armies with the sole intent to kill, maim, and destroy each other. And the fighting, the horrific battle, the dead and the wounded soldiers. This town had a population of only 2,400 people during the battle, and when the battle ends, the aftermath here was horrific. The smell of death everywhere in this town. The residents wore handkerchiefs over their noses dipped in peppermint oil, lavender oil. All the temporary burial grounds that were here, graves were 12 to 18 inches deep, and torrential rains hit Gettysburg right after the battle, which means the soil is washing off these bodies, and arms and legs and faces are protruding through the ground. The corpses turn black. They bloat 3 times the normal size. There's an energy here. So many men in the prime of their life, young people instantly killed in horrific ways, and there's an energy that lingers on these fields. You know, everybody's intrigued by life after death, and that's why us in the paranormal community, you know, trying to find that answer. What exists beyond this plane here? And Gettysburg is just a hotbed for paranormal activity. My name is Tom. I am a tour guide with Ghostly Images of Gettysburg, and I live in the Gettysburg Children's Orphanage. I had first visited Gettysburg in 2001. My brother, who had visited Gettysburg many times, decided to move here himself. And from visiting him, it didn't take me long to fall in love with the town of Gettysburg and the paranormal. And 4 years ago, I actually went online and I saw the listing for this actual apartment. I knew the building very well, and I was the first person to see this apartment, and I took it on the spot because it checked all the boxes that I had for what I dreamed about in moving to Gettysburg, which is I live in a historical building, a building that has a lot of paranormal activity, and from my apartment window I can see a portion of East Cemetery Hill. I say to this day, I feel something in Gettysburg that I don't feel anywhere else in the country. There's an energy here. There's something that lures you back. It did with me. Originally from New Jersey. In a 20-year period, I visited Gettysburg probably 150 times. One of the first trips I came here, I was in the middle of the wheat field, one of my favorite parts of the battlefield, and I was filming with a camcorder. I was the only person in the wheat field. There was nobody nearby, and when I got home and put that tape in to watch my recording, I was hearing all these voices that I knew couldn't be from people because I was by myself, and it intrigued me, and that's where I got involved in just a digital recorder, looking for EVPs. I captured some Class A EVPs when I first started visiting, and then I started staying at the notoriously known haunted bed and breakfast, and I became intrigued with the paranormal, and I continue to be intrigued by it to this day. Well, I had taken a ghost tour of the orphanage many years ago, and I visited Gettysburg so many times. I obviously aware of the different locations, haunted bed and breakfast and such, and the orphanage obviously has a very dark history of what happened here, and I've been very intrigued by the paranormal ever since visiting Gettysburg, so the opportunity to live in the actual orphanage building was something that I was really excited about. I've been giving tours with Ghostly Images for the past 3 seasons. I give tours of the orphanage, Jenny Wade House, and the activity in the orphanage. Just about every tour, it seems that I conduct, people have experiences, whether they get touched, or people have recently been scratched, people have been gently pushed down in the cellar. We've been hearing all kind of noises recently, from children's voices to growling noises. The building is very active, and there is a dark energy definitely in this building, especially in the basement. If you look at the history of the orphanage, this building was built in 1836. It was actually lived in by a man who was a veteran of the War of 1812. This was Captain John Myers. During the Battle of Gettysburg, the orphanage is the headquarters of General O. Howard, and within the orphanage building was a field hospital, which meant there were amputations. Just the ground alone that the orphanage sits on Cemetery Hill, you are basically right on the battlefield, and there was temporary burial grounds all around the property. And of course, when the Civil War ends in 1865, the orphanage becomes a reality, opens in 1866, is open till 1877, and of course in 1870 is when the dark history begins here, when Dr. John Francis Bournes, the founding board member, brings in Rosa J. Carmichael, the cruel matron who tortured and punished children in all types of terrible ways throughout the property. And the energy of Rosa, a dark energy, I believe still is in this building, as are the energy of a lot of child spirits. Well, when I first moved here 4 years ago, I had only been here maybe 3 weeks, and I knew that the apartment was active. My favorite means to ghost hunt has been through EVP recordings, and as soon as I basically moved in, I was getting responses to questions from child spirits. I actually believe Miss Rosa Carmichael spoke to me as well. My first experience that really scared me was I was only here 3 weeks, and I was taking an afternoon nap in my living room on my sofa. And when I woke up from my nap, at the foot of my couch, I saw a woman standing there in a black Victorian dress. Her hair was up in a bun with a little hat, and she was staring at me. And in my mind, I thought, this is Rosa Carmichael. And my reaction when I saw this, God's honest truth is, I had a blanket I pulled over my head because I was really scared when I saw this image. And then when I lifted the blanket back up, she was gone. And I do believe Rosa Carmichael visited me. My living room is actually the space that was her living quarters when she was matron of the orphanage. When people come into the orphanage, and even though I live in the building, I've given tours now for 3 years, I feel the dark vibe while I'm giving the tours. I believe the spirits that reside in this building are drawn to the energy of our tour guests. And especially when we go into the cellar, people feel that dark vibe down there, because that's where Rosa Carmichael saved her cruelest punishment for the children. Anywhere from shackling them to the walls of the cellar, placing them in barrels of water and tying their wrists to the side of the barrel, the hideous pit where she would handcuff and shackle children in the dark, pitch blackness. So people range from experience in the cellar. I mean, just the other night, a man was sitting on a tour, his arm got red hot, and you could actually see a blister forming on his arm. People have been pushed, people have been touched, fingers in their hair. People are overcome with emotion when they go down in the cellar. People I have seen start crying because they feel the heaviness of what these poor children went through, how this woman just violated the trust of these kids and their mothers. And the energy in the cellar is very dark. Growling noises. We heard children's voices with our live ear, captured many EVPs during tours. People do feel the vibe, and whether there's a lot of people who are sensitive, we've had events where psychic mediums have come in, and they all feel the darkness, and the general consensus is Rosa Carmichael is this dark energy. Living in the orphanage, I've always had parakeets as a household pet. They're good company, they're easy to take care of. A lot of people know my previous parakeet named Buddy was very popular in the paranormal community. Whenever guests would visit, they all asked for Buddy. Buddy would entertain them. And Buddy sadly passed away last December. He has a lovely burial spot overlooking the battlefield. And then we replaced, we had to get a new birdie, so we brought in Charlie last December. And Charlie's a good guy. He's low maintenance. He likes to watch TV. He likes to watch parakeets on TV. And he's a lot of fun to have around. And he's good company, good roommate. run tours of the Jenny Wade House and the orphanage. We have been in business for 15 years, and I would say our current season has been amazing. We have never been so busy with tours, with the interest of tourists wanting to take tours of the orphanage and the Jenny Wade House. We have hosted some of the most famous paranormal investigators and teams in the country, even overseas. And it's obviously the good thing. We've been seeing a lot of young people on our tours that have been drawn here because of some of the famous YouTubers that have been here. And to me, that's a good thing that young people are coming to Gettysburg, learn some about the history, and of course, they're intrigued by the paranormal that happens, especially in this orphanage building. So a lot of people come to Gettysburg hoping to see an apparition or a ghost, and I always tell people it doesn't happen all that often. In my 24 years, I've had 2 experiences. And there are people, about 10% of our population, that are more sensitive to seeing apparitions.
When you do pass on,
Me?
do you think you'll be haunting the orphanage?
Well, I have made it clear that I have an eternal lease living here in the orphanage. So when the day comes when I meet my own earthly demise, well, I can't bet on it 100%. Perhaps people on the tours in the future, when I'm no longer giving them, perhaps the man who used to live in the orphanage will interact with them. We'll see.